I'm Chip Townsend, and this is the Team Chip Podcast. Find a way, problem solve, drive around, ask questions, drill in, and figure out how can you make something happen.
Man, if this had happened differently, we would not be sitting here right now. Resourcefulness is literally about that asking, how can we do this, not why we can't.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Team Chip Podcast. We're back in the studio doing it again today. I have the one and only Miss Glenn with me. How are you, babe?
I'm great.
Good. Is life good?
No, it's great.
No, it's great. I like that. Life is not just good, it's great. All right, guys, we're going to jump into it and get moving here. We're going to talk today creative thinking in business. And this kind of going to share a personal story with you guys, really, but it applies to business.
Yeah.
Something that happened to us a long time ago that we think would be relevant to you guys. Man, I just feel like in today's society and world, more than ever, people run up on a bump of some sort, not even a mountain, just a bump, and they just kind of give up and go the other way. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, like that a no is a no is no, just a closed door.
Life ending.
Go away.
Yeah,
Not going to work.
Right.
So
Whenever people close doors on me, I've always just had the mindset I'm either going to blast through that door or I'm going to go find another door. You know
yeah,
what
it's
I mean?
kind of that brick wall. There's multiple ways you can either go around it, you can climb over it, or maybe sledgehammer it down. I don't know.
Or dig under it and make a tunnel. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with tunneling like an armadillo in West Texas, right? All right, so, what do we do when doors keep closing? So we're going to kind of share a little story with you guys. It's about kind of creative thinking. It's about problem solving. It's about not giving up, not feeling like a failure, not, just going, okay, that didn't work. There's a reason for that. For us, I think that's easy because whenever doors close for us, we just kind of go, okay, that's not God's plan, And
Yeah, and I have to, as I was thinking about this, I have to admit that I wish that I could say that was always my mindset, but it wasn't. But I do, I have I think a better grasp of, and honestly, maybe more experience now that has, shown that a closed door may be protection from something.
Oh, man.
And I think of all the times now that there's all these experiences that have stacked up of how many times a door has been closed that we've been really kind of bummed about. And then we're like, thank you, Lord, for not.
5 years later, you kind of go, oh gosh, I see it now. Thank goodness.
Thank
that door
you
closed,
so
right?
much for closing that
Absolutely.
door. Or just trusting in, you know what, this is something that we really thought we were supposed to do, but it's obviously not.
not in God's plan and timing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. For me, it's like something goes wrong. It doesn't work out. It kind of gives me a sense of relief, just kind of saying a little prayer and going, okay, I know you're in control here and you've got us. I know there's something is good or better, right? So
absolutely.
But but keep in mind, it's entrepreneurship. It's rejection plus resilience, right? You're gonna hear no's. You're gonna get told no. And again, the story we're gonna share is more of a personal story, but it's helped to mold us into who we are whenever we go make deals or try to grow our business or improve our business, etc. So
absolutely.
Here's the story. We're going to talk about buying our first house.
Yeah, it was a piece of cake. We went in and we it was literally like the HGTV. I'm kind of dating myself, but the HGTV scenario where we're two young married. We go in and we pre-qualify for a $400,000 home, and I am professionally butterfly catching. Okay, wait, that is actually not the story.
The story. Man, those boggle my mind too. You're watching these TV shows and it's like, I just graduated with my, degree in this and I'm a professional, like you said, butterfly catcher. And we are pre-qualified for a $800,000. Our budget's $800,000 for our first
Atlanta.
home. So let me tell you, we were trying to buy a $40,000 home and could not.
It was a really, really long time ago.
How far back
Because
is
now
really long?
$40,000 wouldn't barely buy you a car.
$40,000, not even a down payment on a car these days with the way things are, right?
Yeah, so for sure. But seriously.
Now I feel like my dad was telling me the other day that their first house they bought in Abilene, Texas, I think he said $7,000.
Oh, my word.
And he was like, yeah, our monthly payment was like $50-something a month. And I was just like, what?
Wow.
That same house today is probably selling for $200,000.
Oh,
you know,
100%.
And it's a little bitty place here in town. Anyway,
Yeah, but this was a little bitty place. It was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Maybe
Single
I don't
car
even
garage.
think it was
It was a
I don't even
nice
think
little
it was
house.
it was a very nice house, but it was small and it was in a great little neighborhood.
probably 900, maybe 1,000.
I don't
square
think it
feet.
was quite 1,000.
I don't think so
Yeah.
either. It was
No.
small. It was an itty bitty place. So the story is we had rented the house.
Mm-hmm.
We got married, and we rented for 2 years on one street here in Abilene, in a nice little neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And the landlord of that house came to us, remember, and
Yes.
said, "Hey, I think he was a college professor. He might have been military." And he said, "Hey, I'm getting orders. I'm taking a new job somewhere else. Got to leave. We need to sell the house. I need you to move out." And we were like, "Oh, okay." So we did a quick shuffle. We looked around and we found 2 blocks over another house almost exactly like it.
Yeah.
Nice little house, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, whatever. And we jumped on it. It was available for rent. We rented it, and we never really even thought at the time about buying because we were young. Glenn was in school anyway. We're in that house for 2 years. He comes to us and says, "Hey, our 2-year lease is about up. I'm taking a new job." So he was a college professor. I remember
Right.
he was going to be moving to another state to teach another university. But he said, "Guys, y'all have been great tenants. Would y'all like to buy the house?" Which was very smart on his part. And I said, "Yes, we'll take it." How much? He wanted $40,000. I said, "All right, cool." We had $10,000 in cash that
Right.
we'd kind of saved up. We had a little pad for us at that time. We were 1.5 years into owning our martial arts school at that
Yeah.
point. So we had just had the school for a year and a half. And you, Glenn, were still in school. You were working part-time as a
I think I was
pharmacy
probably a
assistant.
pharmacy
Yeah.
tech.
Pharmacy tech, and going to school, basically full-time
Right.
nursing school, right? And so I'm thinking $40,000. At that time, a really nice car was, $40-ish thousand.
Right.
And we, at that time, could have walked on the showroom floor of any dealership and bought a $40,000 car.
Right. Our credit was great.
At the drop of a hat,
Yeah.
right? Like no big deal.
Right.
And so this is a learning experience, right? And so I was like, he said 40,000. I didn't even negotiate with him. I just said, yes, we'd love to
Right.
be able to buy this house. It's a good little starter home for us. Anyway, I go to the bank. I don't know if you remember, a good friend of ours that had been my banker really since I was about 15 years old. I'd been kind of going to that bank and building a little bit of credit and
Right.
buying and selling some stuff. And I go to him and I said, "Hey, I'll just say John, hey, John, we want to buy a house and I've got $10,000 down, which is 25%. If you're not good at math, 25% cash down, can you draw up some paperwork? What do we need to do here?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't handle mortgages. That's across town at the other branch." And that was the first red flag. Like,
Yeah.
what? I've been phone calling you for years going, "Hey, I'm about to buy a $20,000 whatever." And you go, "Yeah, just fill out the papers and send them to me."
Right. And I think, that just kind of a side note, that was something that I think was so valuable that although this one didn't work out, having a relationship with somebody at your
Right.
local bank, not bouncing to, this bank has made me mad. So we're just
Right.
changing ships, jump ship, having a relationship with people. Relationships are huge.
Absolutely. And we still bank at this same bank.
Yeah.
Even
this
though
didn't
we
make,
kind of-
this didn't make us mad and we didn't leave.
Yeah,
So.
we didn't cry in our soup about it. We just so I was like, "John, are you serious? You what does that mean?" And he's like, "Well, mortgages and personal loans for like a boat or a car or, whatever, it's not the same thing." And I'm a dumb kid. I'm like, "All right, I didn't know that." So I go across town to the other location, and he called and let him know. He helped us out a little bit. Hey, they're coming over. They're good kids. They pay their bills, whatever. So I go over and they give me a bunch of paperwork. We filled out paperwork and they interviewed us and we chit chatted and went through all these things. And get everything turned in, and they're looking. The mortgage banker was looking at the paperwork, and he said, "You do what do you do for a living?" You know, and because he's reading it, and it probably said Taekwondo. I don't remember what I wrote on there, but and I said, "Well, I teach Taekwondo," and the next follow-up question was, "What's that?" And I said, it's a martial art, you know, so I teach people how to kick and punch. And he's like, "You make a living doing that?" Like, he's dumbfounded, right? Yeah. And I'm like, "Yes, sir. We have for a little over a year now." And anyway, so he goes, "Oh, well, you're self-employed." "Yeah, I'm self-employed." And what does your wife do? "My wife is working part-time as a pharmacy tech. She's going to school full-time. She's working on her RN degree, registered nurse degree." And he goes, "Okay, well, sorry, we just can't do this." And I'm like, "Can't do it? Why?" And he goes, "Well, if you're self-employed as a bare minimum, you have to be self-employed for at least 2 years."
Yeah.
Honestly, I was kind of mad. I was like,
Right.
I was a little pissed. Like seriously, like I could take 10 grand, walk into any car dealership in this town, do a 5-year note on a $40,000 car that they would never blink and be, you know, which I'm not going to do, and I can't buy a house.
Right.
I can't buy something that actually would appreciate and become something more valuable over time. And a car does not. And it just boggled my mind.
Right.
It didn't, you know, again, we're young, dumb kids, didn't understand the process. So instead of getting mad, well, I was a little angry, and that's probably what drove me to my next step at the time. I just walked out, got in my vehicle, and drove to the next bank. And I walked in, and I will never forget it. I went in, I need to speak to a mortgage banker, or, you know, whatever, mortgage loan officer, whatever you want to call them. And they go, "Oh, okay, that department's over there." Go in. "Hey, can I speak to them?" "Well, no, they're busy." I'm like, "No, I want to speak to a mortgage banker." "Well, you need to fill out an application and all this." I'm like, "Nope, I'm not filling out anything. I just have like 2-3 questions. I need to speak to somebody." "Oh, okay." I get to a mortgage banker. "Okay, sir, I'm looking to buy a $40,000 house. You can pull my credit. I'm not going to let you do that right now because that dinks your credit every time someone checks it, right? But we basically have near perfect credit, if not perfect at this time. And I've got 25% cash. I want to buy a house. What do you do?" "I teach Taekwondo." "What is that?" I went through this conversation over and over. "It's a martial art." "You make a living doing that?" "I make a living doing this, and this is what my wife does." But here's the caveat. We've only owned our business for, and I'll never forget, it was a year and a half. "Oh, nope, can't help you." So I got walked out of somewhere around 5 or 6 banks because I just started driving from bank to bank. Boom, boom, boom. And it was frustrating because now we've rented for 4 years.
Well, and I think we at that time we had gone from buying not being on our radar to going, "Wait a minute, you know what? We've actually been just taking this rent money and tossing it out the window." And we start to kind of see that.
The visual I had was taking that, whatever it was, $300 or $400 a month at that time that we were paying in rent, and just lighting a match to it every month.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so then now that it is on our radar, we're like, okay, we've got to, how do we make this work? And, just coincidentally, isn't that funny? You know, isn't it funny? At the time, we thought, "Oh wow, well, this is how funny is this?"
Did you say something about someone else having some strings and orchestrating things in your life, right?
You know, we find out that there is a builder that lives, that is building homes in a different great neighborhood that does owner finance, and
we were like, "What?"
Yeah, and so that's how we ended up buying our first house.
So,
and
I don't know if you remember how that worked out, but I don't know why these things are pretty vivid in my mind. As soon as I found out, at the time, my sister and brother-in-law were actually doing some building. Now they couldn't do a tote-to-note house, and but they're the ones that told us about it. And the man's name was John Meyer. I'll never forget the name.
I don't remember it. Didn't remember his name.
John Meyer. They said there's a man named John Meyer who is a builder here in town building, and he'll carry the note on a house. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding." And they were like, "No." And I said, "Where do I find this guy?" And it turns out in this other nice little neighborhood, he had 2 houses side by side, framed. Foundations laid, houses were framed. And this was 1997. I believe it was 97, the year that because we bought our school and took it over in 95, and it was 2 years after we'd owned the
Right.
school that we were married for a couple of years prior to owning the school. And so anyway, we had rented for 4 years. So it was 97. I drive up, and you were with me, and I said, let's just run over there and see if we can find this guy. And they were like, yeah, he's building 2 houses right here on this certain street. And he had 2 side-by-side framed. And I walked onto the work site, and I looked around, and I said, hey guys, does anybody know where John Meyer is? And one of the workers said, yeah, he's right over there. So I walked over, and I said, Mr. Meyer, my name is Chip Townsend. I own a martial arts school. Kind of told him the whole story. I said, I have perfect credit. I said, I will go pull you a copy. I said, I was told that you would carry a note on a house. And he looked at me and he said, yeah. He said, I've done that before. And I said, okay. And I said, my wife and I have been renting for 4 years. We have, this much cash to put down, and I really want to buy a home. I'm sick of renting and burning money. Would you be willing to do that? And he said, well, which one do you want? And I said, are you serious? And he goes, yeah. And I said, hold on. And I grabbed you and I said, babe, which one of these houses do you like? And so we went and walked through both of these frame little houses. You're the visionary, and you said, I want this one. And I said, excellent. I said, she wants that one over there. And he goes, bring me $1,000 and I'll have a contract ready for you and it's yours.
Yep.
Yeah. And I said, done. And we ran. I grabbed $1,000 in cash and brought back to him, and he wrote me a little receipt. And we signed a little agreement right there on the spot. And we waited for them to finish that house. And we moved in as soon as it was finished.
Yep.
Never imagining at that point in our life buying a brand new home,
Right.
That was just being built. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't exactly what we wanted, but it was perfect for us at the time, honestly, right? So I guess kind of the point of the story is, find a way, problem solve, drive around, ask questions, drill in, and figure out how can you make something happen. I can't count how many times we've done that in our marriage.
Absolutely.
In different business or personal situations, and had amazing outcomes because, number one, God's got control. But number two, we don't just give up and lay down.
Yeah. And, and this is the thing. There's a mindset of this time next month, whatever is like in the forefront right now that I'm really, really worried about, I'm actually going to this time next month, I'm not even going to remember.
Right.
It's going to have worked itself out. And when you realize it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Absolutely. Well, that makes me think of something that we talk about sometimes, when things seem awry, things seem bad, sometimes to give yourself some perspective, step back for a minute and just kind of think through the process and what's going on and ask yourself, in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, is this going to be on my mind?
Yep.
And many, many times, sometimes it might be there for 5 days. One of those things, it's that irritable, or it might be a 5-month thing. But in 5 years, most of the time you're not even, it's just a good story, right?
Yeah. And so many times whenever you take the time to step back and whenever something kind of works itself out and you step back and then you start to see all of those puzzle pieces. And, there are situations that we're not going to, on this side, we're not going to see all the puzzle pieces, but we will later. And when you start to see, man, if this had happened differently, we would not be sitting here right now.
Right now. Oh, yeah. 100%. So one of the things that I remember thinking through at that time too is, why was I willing to drive to like 6 banks just back to back and just walk in and go straight to a banker? Number one, I had absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I had all they could do is say no.
Right.
And if one of them said yes, I would have been over the moon.
Yeah. I remember that reminds me of a book that I read way, way, way back. And honestly, I haven't read it in so long that it might be a little bit crazy, but, so this is not necessarily a recommendation, but the name of the book is Go for No. Like instead of going for yes, like how many no's can I get? Because, the
statistically, after so many no's, you get a yes.
I got to get a yes in here somewhere.
Absolutely. All right. So, closed doors aren't the end. It's a sign. It's a sign to try another door, or sometimes stay persistent and just beat that door down. We've done that too. So, kind of some business lessons. Being told no doesn't mean it's over.
Yep.
have some resilience, think, problem solve a little bit. Like, what are some other options? Maybe what is the different angle we could take on this to possibly make this work? Because as entrepreneurs, many times we don't have a big budget. We're not a Walmart or a Microsoft that has a pretty big, fund built for doing things. And we've got to think outside the traditional systems, and we got to get creative in how we think, how we deal, how we relate. And sometimes ask better questions. What's another way I can get what I need? Who believes in me or my business? There's just somebody we know that already believes kind of what we do. Could we connect with them and in some way leverage that in a way to help us? How can we create a win-win deal for us and someone else? Whenever everyone else is saying no, is there someone that could win?
They could use, they need the business too. And so I'm needing some marketing, and I know somebody that's very skilled but has a brand new little business that I could go to them, or whatever that area is. There's a new whether it's a new supplier or something that you're really needing something that a little more custom than what you can get from the traditional ways. Go.
Well, and another thing here too that's just kind of ringing in my head, so I feel like I need to say it, is just because you have a friend that owns a business, don't ask for freebies.
No.
Don't ask for discounts. If people come to me that I love and I care for, and I choose to give them a discount and they're willing to accept that, that's my choice. But don't put your friends in a place like this, especially when they've opened a fresh business, or they're pretty, especially when they're new. Man, that's just not cool. I hear people like, "Oh man, my friend works down at I can go get free fries all day," and it's like, why? Why would you put your friend in the place to steal fries?
Because they're not free.
It's not free for anybody, right? So. And the reason I'm saying that is because over some time, by not asking for freebies and discounts, etc., you're helping them build their business. There may be a time that they become the resource you need to partner with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So think bigger than the end of your nose. Think out there 5 years, 10 years, how can this hurt me and how can this help me? Resourcefulness it's a skill. You build it like a muscle. So practice being resourceful and thinking kind of outside the box. So don't stop at no, keep asking, keep showing up. Keep asking, keep showing up. Persistence. I just remember one of my mom's big words in my life was persistence, persistence. Be persistent, boy. Don't stop pushing. Don't stop asking. Learn how to structure creative deals and partnerships. Think, how can this help someone else have a win too? And that makes it inviting for them when you sit down with them and go, "Hey, can we get you involved here? Could you benefit from this?"
And I think we've talked about this before, but it's asking that question instead of going, "Okay, this is why it won't work." Okay, how can I make this work?
Absolutely.
Instead of giving all of the list of the whys it won't, think how can we do whatever it is. There's a bazillion different scenarios that we can think of, but it's resourcefulness is literally about that asking, how can we do this, not why we can't.
Absolutely. Remember, resourcefulness is one of your greatest business assets. Be resourceful. I love what you said. Stop looking for why it don't work. Stop looking for the negative. Well, it won't work because. Look for the reasons it will.
And asking, giving the list of, the thing that further requires is whenever you give the list of the how's it, the reasons that it won't, you're taking the weight off of you. But whenever you ask how can we do this, you're putting the weight back on you and back on the responsibility to get it done, whatever that it is, back on you instead of going, okay, I'm out.
Yeah. Don't look for the easy way. Carry the weight. Make it work, especially whenever you have a family to raise and a reason to make it work, right?
And everybody does have a reason.
All right. If you're facing a closed door, either bang it down or go to the next door. Don't give up. Find the way to make it work, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. Just, again, a little bit of a personal story that probably may surprise you a bit, but we got a lot more of those coming, so we'll be sharing some more of those nuggets here and there in the podcast. We're unbelievable thankful for you. We're asking you for reviews, subscribe, help us to share this and get this out if you think it will help anybody in your life. And as young entrepreneurs, if you're young or old, literally, but figuratively, as young entrepreneurs or old entrepreneurs out there, be resourceful. Don't give up. Drive. Be persistent and consistent and stay on top of it. Thank you for jumping in. Did you have a good time today?
I did.
Good. Hopefully you got some nuggets out of that. Again, we're thankful for you. Let us know what you'd like to hear about, and we will see you the next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Team Chip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget, subscribe, share, and or leave a review because we need you. We appreciate you so much, and without you, we can't make this happen. Remember, consistency is the key to success, so go out there and never be outworked.